Hello?
Hello, Mr. Sefo?
Yes.
Yes, this is Steve Jewin from MMA Mania calling for the interview today.
Oh, yes. How you doing?
I'm doing really good, thank you. I'm glad you've got some time today. I know there's a conference call coming up, so if you've only got 15, 20 minutes, let me know and I'll try not to run long.
Yep, no, that's fine. I believe the press conference is set 12, so we have a bit of time.
All right, that's good. So first things first, World Series Fighting 16 coming up on Saturday night on NBC Sports with two great main events, two title fights on the line. So I'm sure you're really excited, and talk a little bit about that big card.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Very excited. You know, when you look at, the co-main, it's a world title fight. Red Glenn is, without a doubt, deserves where he's at, being the champion. And, people have always, looked at him and, there are times I look at Rick and he seems like he's such a nice guy. You know what I mean? Like, when he's in there, he just battles and so he's got a big, this is his first defense, so he's got a big challenge in Lance Palmer, Lance Palmer, brings a pedigree of wrestling. He trains out of Alpha Male, which, when you train with people like, Faber and, TJ Dillashaw, you're obviously going to just improve, right? So, because of a really good camp, one of my good friends is, the head coach over there now, Martin Kaplan. It makes this fight a real interesting and real challenging fight and an exciting one too. When you look at the main event, that main event is one of the best main events, that anybody could have on a, fight promotion. And fortunately, there are guys, versatile fighting, you know what I mean? And, it's Palhares' first title defense and it's up against John Fitch, great big names in the sport, legends of the game, and, very excited about it. And the fact that, the odds are pretty much, I think in the bookmakers, the way they look at the odds, we had the most competitive fights for Saturday night. So it's good for us because it shows that we're matching these fights well, and we have some of the best talents in the world as well.
There's no question that World Series Fighting has some of the best talent in the world, and that they're going to be on display on Saturday night. And there's several more fights we can talk about too. But going back to the Palmer versus Glenn fight, this is Palmer's second chance because he was in the inaugural featherweight championship fight and he lost to the man who got beat by Rick Glenn to win the title. So Georgie Karakhanyan was kind of the stepping stone in between here, and now Palmer's coming back around for a second try.
Well, that's right. His last fight, Palmer obviously, stepped up and he was able to submit
Labasco.
And did it in such an easy fashion in terms of what he did it there. And, I think it was just the right fight to make. Plus we're in his backyard as well. So, it was an opportunity that, obviously for us, it was a great matchup for Rick, and, it would make a real interesting fight. And, for Rick, again, it's his first title defense and beating Palmer just, will continue to stamp his mark on holding on to that title. And saying that, again, this is the fight game and, anything can happen. That's the beauty about our sport is that, you don't really know what's going to happen until it's all said and done.
No, you don't. But Glenn certainly has a lot going into the fight for him. I mean, since 2010, nobody's beaten him. It's like 10 fights in a row now. So I honestly I think Glenn is like a little overlooked in the MMA world. I think more people should talk about him.
You're absolutely right. It's funny. I've said this, I've said the same thing. I think, Rick is overlooked. But he continues to prove people wrong. You know what I mean? And, he continues to beat people. Rick just so composed and did his thing and ended up beating the guy. I totally agree. I think Rick Glenn is a guy that's overlooked, but I think a lot of that is just because of his demeanor. He's such a laid back guy. He's just a real nice guy. You know what I mean? But again, he proves everybody wrong when he steps into that cage and continues to win.
He does indeed. And you mentioned that Rick Glenn is a really nice guy, quiet guy. I think Husmar Palhares, for right or wrong, got the reputation of being not such a nice guy. He's behaved well in World Series fighting, but he does have that track record that kind of gets more people to watch him just because he's a controversial guy.
Right. Absolutely. And, you know, the funny thing about it is that you meet this guy in person, and he is, you know, he just, again, very similar demeanor to Rick Glenn, just really soft-spoken, really nice, very polite. But, you know, just like a lot of fighters, obviously you got to learn how to have an on and off switch. When that bell rings in the cage or the ring, you become, you know, the beast that gets released and fights. Unfortunately, there are certain things that has caused him to be, you know, the bad guy of MMA, and holding on too long to a ankle lock or, you know, a leg lock, which is very dangerous. But, again, we actually addressed this issue when we first signed him, that, you know, if the referee is there, and again, you know, if it's being held too long, we wouldn't tolerate that. And his last fight against Steve Call, I spoke to the ref and said, no, I spoke to him not to let go, because leg lock is one of these things where, you know, people can slip out of it. And if you time it right. So the ref says, well, you know, had talked to him when he went to do his rounds and talked to them in the corners. He says, don't let go until I say so. When the ref said so, he let go, you know, he let go. But in saying that, anything more than that, then, you know, we would definitely sit down with him and you know, find out where that's a scenario. How do we fix it? But you need to see somebody, these kind of things, which was talked about before. And again, the guy is a super, super nice guy. This reputation of holding on to these locks have made him out to be a bad guy.
It definitely has increased his profile, whether that was his intention or not, because people do remember him now. And I think that's the one thing that, if critics have anything against John Fitch, it's that he doesn't seem that emotional. He seems almost robotic in his approach, but it works for him because he wins fight after fight.
Well, that's right. You know, John Fitch is a guy that, I mean, he's a grinder, and you know, you got to take your head up to John Fitch. John is a guy that knows the game, understands where his strengths are. So he's not going to stand there and bang every single time. In saying that, his last fight, when he was out striking up, and then, you know, I was able to take him down and secure the win. Listen, Fitch has been around. He's fought the best of the best. He knows the game in and out, and he knows where his strengths are. Obviously he's been working with, One Kick Nick now that he's moved to Vegas. So he's working a lot on his striking, and, I was impressed with his last fight. I thought his striking was, very entertaining, and, I was actually quite surprised that he stood as long as he did. And, so again, you know, he's improving in his game, and he's, working on every aspect of his game, and, you know, it's a tough fight for both of them. And again, this is a main event I'm very excited about it, you know, because to me, it's a 50-50 fight. These two guys are both masters on the ground, and I think it's going to be an amazing fight.
Yeah, I have great expectations for it as well. It should be a really fun fight to watch and to cover live, so I can't wait to see it. But there's 3 more fights on this TV card as well that I'm sure are guaranteed to deliver, and Shema Moraes as well, because this guy has knocked out 2 out of every 3 guys he's faced, and he's undefeated. So that fight with Gabriel Solorio at bantamweight should be a hell of a barn burner.
Oh, for sure. Watching these guys fight before us, both talented guys that like to throw down. Shema Moraes comes, you know, from a kickboxing background, Muay Thai background, and and as a guy that, as a matter of fact, he's been training in Thailand, for this fight. So, both of those guys are going to show up and throw down. Branson Henson and, Joseph,
Berkovic, yeah.
Josh, yes. That's going to be another exciting fight as well. Because both of these guys can wrestle. Both of these guys like to strike. Yes, I think the whole card's going to be exciting. And then, Justin Buchholz and
Luis Gonzalez.
I mean,
yes.
Yeah, Luis Gonzalez. I mean, Justin Buchholz is another guy who, again, he's an alpha male guy. Very good MMA fighter, good on his feet, very good on the ground. Gonzalez is, comes from a wrestling background, very good on the ground. And he likes to stand and trade from time to time as well. So the whole card is stacked and, like you said, and, it's an exciting card actually.
It's going to be a great card on NBC Sports starting live at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, so everybody be sure to tune in for those fights. But let's talk more about World Series fighting in general. It's been a very big year throughout 2014, a lot of events, a lot of publicity. It was scheduled for 3 title fights. It ended up only being 2, but you had a big card running head-to-head against Bellator and UFC, and seems to be happening to World Series fighting a lot because it's also going against Stipe Miocic versus Junior Dos Santos on Saturday night. But I've heard it said before by many people that the competition is great because it's a DVR world and everybody can just set a record and watch everything. So how do you feel about going head to head with UFC on Saturday?
UFC has got so many shows and they have a show every week that you just can't not have a show, because if we're to, work around UFC schedule, we would not have a show.
That's true. They're running 45 shows next year. You can't really avoid them.
No, that's what I mean. Like, listen, Junior Dos Santos is a great fight as well, and but like you said, there's nothing you can do to avoid the UFC because they have a show every week, and so we just focus on what we do and put on the best fights that we can put on, and listen, the winner here at the end of the day is the fans. And like you say, we live in the DVR world where, you can watch one show live and DVR the other, and it benefits both leagues. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? One way or the other, I think the fans get to, get spoiled because they get to choose, which one to watch first and which one to watch second. I mean, it's great.
Did I lose you?
Yeah, you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Hello? Oh, okay. So, it's never, listen, my mind is not, it's not going head to head with UFC. It's, it's UFC being really busy.
And I'm sure World Series fighting in 2015 is going to be busy too. I mean, how many cards do you think are going to be total, or do you even have an outline that far ahead at this point?
We have 16, confirmed dates for 2015.
All right. Well, it's growing every year then. There's more World Series fighting shows every single year it takes place, and a lot more title defenses sure to come up. But going back to the one mentioned earlier, it was supposed to be a title defense going in, and Melvin Gillard missed weight, and it was a very interesting conference call I took part in because he came into that call feeling disrespected, and I thought it was kind of interesting that he missed weight because that's something that a lot of writers and sports fans perceive as disrespectful. So your thoughts on that whole situation?
No, absolutely. Listen, anybody that don't make weight, and especially when you're fighting for a title, that's very disrespectful. I mean, it already is disrespectful when you're not making weight because it's disrespectful to the other fighter. You're disrespecting yourself. You disrespect the league that you fight for. But this was a title fight, again, not only disrespected Justin Cagey, who's the champion, he really disrespected himself because he put himself out of an opportunity of a lifetime to fight for a title. And again, that is a complete no-no in my eyes because, in the 101 fights, I've never missed weight, and I've never disrespected anybody, when it comes to the fight game or anyone for that matter. So, Yeah, I think the overall picture here, he really let himself down because he didn't make weight, he didn't get to fight for the title, and he lost the fight. So he lost out in every aspect of that day and of the fight because he made himself the attention of a negative when he could have made it. Okay, listen, when the fight happened, it was a barn burner for sure because they both showed up and it kind of, I think a lot of people kind of overlooked the incidents before that because of the fight being such a good fight. In saying that, the question is about this situation. And again, I think if anything, Melvin actually disrespected himself more because, like I said, he took himself out of a title fight. He didn't make weight, and he lost. So, it's a tough situation to be in.
And it certainly didn't hurt Gaethje anything because he won the fight, as you said, and he's undefeated, 13-0. He's beaten every single person World Series fighting has put against him. It just leaves the question, Melvin Guillard obviously failed in a lot of respects, but at the same time, Gaethje would have probably beaten him if he had made weight. So what's next for Gaethje?
Well, yeah, Luis Palomino has been, knocking at the door, to be quite honest, and right now, I think he's the next fight for Justin Gaethje. Lewis was a very good striker. He's a black belt jiu-jitsu guy, but he's a guy that says, "Listen, I'm a black belt at jiu-jitsu. I'm very good on the ground. I can, my grappling is second to none. But I get more satisfaction knocking people out." And
he knocks a lot of people out. He knocked out Luis Gonzalez. Right. He knocked out Jay-Z Cavalcante. He knocks out everybody.
Right. I mean, so again, this is another guy that's very skilled in the art of MMA. His striking game is very, is on par with some of the best strikers, and his grappling game is on par with some of the best grapplers. And so, he's going to be a true force in that division. Again, it'll be a good match again, matched up with Justin Gaethje because Justin Gaethje is a guy that's just completely relentless and ruthless when it comes to when that bell rings, and he's proven that time and time again. Again, another amazing kid, great guy. Love to work with him. Love working with him. These are the kind of people that I love working with. They're guys that don't really say much and don't disrespect anybody. But when the bell rings, they do all their talking in the cage. So that's have always been my demeanor as a fighter, and I love seeing that in our guys as well.
Should be a great fight when it does come up, and coming up even sooner than that will be World Series Fighting 17 in January at Planet Hollywood in Las Vegas. So if you want to talk a little bit about that card as well, I know we've got Shields versus Foster and Moraes versus Hill on that card. So another big one coming up after this Saturday in January.
Well, that's right. It's another big card that Shields is obviously he's gunning for the title as well. So. He was able to put away Ryan in Canada in the first round, and so the winner, obviously, the winner out of Palhares and Fitch, Shields will be the next guy up in that, and so I shouldn't say Shields will be up next to that because. He's got he's fighting Foster. I was going to say the winner of Shields and Foster.
So that's definitely a number one. That's a number one contender fight. Then is what you're saying.
Right. Exactly. And then Martin Moraes. I mean, he's a guy that's again another beast, another guy that just every time he steps into that cage, you expect an exciting, an exciting fight with its a ground fight or stand-up fight, one way or the other, it's always going to be entertaining and exciting with that kid.
He's going against the guy who's 10-0, so, Josh Hill is not going to make it easy for him.
Well, this is right. Josh Hill is, again, I think Josh Hill is, he's hungry. He's at a point now where he feels he's ready to fight for that title. And, I don't expect anything less from Josh Hill, to be honest. And, so which then again makes it another, exciting fight. And I think it's just, another night of, entertainment that people are going to enjoy, the fans are going to love. Also very excited to be back at Planet Hollywood for that one, because that was where we first started them. So it's good that now we're back there again.
Yeah, coming full circle. So it's a good place to return for another big night of fights. And before we wrap it up today, Mr. Sefo, I want to thank you again for the time. And anything else you'd like to plug or promote at this time, please feel free to go ahead.
Oh, no, just want to thank the fans for all the love and support, and thank you guys, the media. I mean, I say this time and time again, but it really is the truth, and I really do mean that from the bottom of my heart, because we've had nothing but love from the start, and we still continue to have love from the fans and as well as the media. And listen, I want to give a huge shout out and a thank you to NBC Sports. IMG, who have now, allowed us to be in over 90 countries around the world. So yeah, just a huge thank you to our partners as well as the fans and you guys. Thank you.
Oh, it's our pleasure. And to follow you on Twitter, it's at Sugar Ray Sefo. And the World Series of Fighting weigh-in results will be streamed live on WSOF.com tomorrow. Am I right?
That is correct. Yes.
All right, so everybody go to WSOF.com. You can watch the live weigh-ins, and then on Saturday they'll also air the prelims on WSOF.com, and then the live card on NBC Sports at 9 p.m. Eastern.
That is correct. Thank you.
All right, it's our pleasure, Mr. Sefo. Thank you. Have a great day, and we look forward to an exciting weekend of fights.